Hello, how the hell are you? It is March, which feels bad. I don't know if I said that in the last episode, but a few things. One, I have another cold. Apologies for sounding snuffy. This is my life now, apparently. Secondly, excuse how I look if you're watching the video, because we are mid-kitchen Reno. My partner is downstairs painting. As I type, I spent my morning taking all the doors off the cupboards, removing one of the doors into the room. Yeah, it's been a whole thing. It's been a whole thing. And now I'm currently waiting on quotes from a plumber because we realised that we've got this little under kitchen heater which has a plug, and I'm already always accidentally kicking it on. We never use it. And I was like, oh, it's just electric. So we went to rip it out and it's plumbed in. Apparently it's part of the central heating system. So now we have to get a plumber to come and disconnect that. I'm also going to use the opportunity to get a new towel heater in the bathroom because I'm like, well, if I'm paying you to come to my house and do this, you might as well do that as well. So I'm thinking, how many other jobs do I have that a plumber can do? So I'll just pay them. I'll be come here, do all these jobs, and then go. Anyway, that's my current life. I've changed the name. I changed the name of the podcast. I've been thinking about this for a while. I was meant to do a big podcast relaunch, but for me that involves pausing the podcast and making this big song and dance about it coming back and under a new name. And I was I quite want to do that. I'm actually in a really good flow with the podcast at the moment, doing it weekly. So for me, I was look, you want to change the name because I hated the name. It kind of made sense. Fund the Damn Life was something that I said a lot in a branding session that I had, and how my business was all about you funding your life. But the name just wasn't working for me. Whereas another thing that I'm always coming up with is it's not just revenue. Money, it's not just revenue. And that's the thing is so many business owners are focusing on revenue. It's not just that. So that's where I ended up changing the name to. So the podcast now has the name. So yeah, let me know what you think. And I'm sorry for the jump scare if you're what the hell is this? What is this podcast? So yeah, hi, just me. I'm still yapping about money. But yeah, let's get into it. This episode, I want to talk about people pleasing and how people pleasing is killing your profit, and maybe in ways that you've not even considered. I think there will be some ways that you're yeah, okay, I know. Emily, I know I'm doing this. And there will be other ways that you're go what? So I'm just going to make sure that I've got my notes here, and then we will get into it. Okay. So I'm going to be talking about 6 different ways in which people pleasing is essentially killing your profit. And that is pricing, sales, scope creep, offer design, business model, and marketing. Okay, so as you can see, it's a very broad area of your business that is being affected by people pleasing. Now, people pleasing is one of those things that I think a lot of us struggle with. It's probably a gender related thing as women. It's also probably a generational thing of how we were brought up. And obviously there are so many things we know that go into your relationship with money and just your behavioral patterns with just kind of life in general, not just money. How we get that, and it being from our caregivers, from media, from society, from the education system. So we probably picked this up in so many different ways over the years. There will obviously be some of you that struggle with people pleasing a lot more than others, but I do think there's a lot here that most of us could use. So let's get into it. Pricing and revenue. Undercharging to avoid discomfort of someone saying that's too expensive, even when you could charge more and convert the same. Now, this is partly people pleasing. I think this is also some fear of rejection. If someone tells you that it's too expensive, almost what does it mean about you, or what you're making it? It's what you're making it mean about you rather than what it actually means about you. It is really hard to not do that because we often think about our own financial situation and what we can afford and almost try and translate that onto other people, but we also don't know. it's really dangerous as a business owner to make that assumption as to what people can or cannot afford. I think it's why with pricing, it's always better to be really upfront and transparent with what your pricing is, so that by the time you are having a conversation with someone about whether or not this is a good fit, they're already sold on the price because they already know what the price is. Whereas if that is something that you are holding back and you're not telling, like it's not on your sales page, you're not front with the price or the payment plans, then there is that possibility that you're going to get in a conversation with someone and they're going to turn around and say, that's just not in my budget right now. Okay. But it's also really important what you do when that happens. So caving on a price when someone pushes back. Okay, so if someone, you're on a sales call and you're talking about the pricing and, I've had this, I think most of us have had this, like you get on a sales call, maybe someone does, like I've always been transparent with my pricing, but sometimes people will just kind of like jump the gun and they'll book a sales call without really looking at it. We've all had it and we say the price, they're like, nothing, and you are thinking, and immediately what happens in your brain is we're trying to win the sale, right? In that position, when we're on a sales call, typically like in business, like we do want to make the money and we, maybe we've already assessed that this is an ideal client and they are umming and ahhing over the price. It becomes so easy for us to just be like, I can meet you where you're at, or like, what would work for you, and trying to meet them where they're at. Now, there is absolutely a time and a place for that. I'm talking about if you are consistently doing this, like this is something that comes up time and time again, that actually you have on your prices that like maybe this package is 5K, but you end up always doing it for 3K. Okay, there's something going on there. Not raising prices because existing clients might react badly, even when your marketing positioning has moved. Ooh, so I think raising prices in general is a big area in which people pleasing really affects us. I think primarily with past clients though. I think it can be easy to raise our prices by just like putting the new price on the website and maybe like talking about the new price on socials and out and about. The harder bit is when we've got people that we've been working with, especially if we have retainer clients, perhaps we've been working with these clients for years and we're raising our prices. And I have had clients and they have told me that they've just never raised the price for their clients. So they've literally got some clients that are paying like a couple of £100 a month for the work they do versus newer clients who are paying like a couple of £1,000 a month for the work they do. And that's a massive gap. So whenever you raise your prices, I would say in general, always raise your prices for your past clients as well. If anything, raise them first. Okay, because that is going to give you the evidence you need to then go confident with your new pricing publicly. Now, there's obviously ways to do this. I would say always give clients at least 30 days notice, as much notice as possible. Basically, I don't want you to try and sell them or like convince them. It's the convincing. We never want to do the convincing, right? You don't want to convince people that your new pricing is justified. You want to tell them why. You're literally just telling them why this is going up. Okay, so your clients will probably already see the value in the work that you do because you have been working together for so long and you built this rapport. And obviously, if they're working with you for so long, they must like what you're doing. So you're essentially coming in and going like, obviously, like this time has passed. Maybe it's been like 3 years. Let's say it's been 3 to 5 years. You're like, my experience has grown so much. I have learned so much. I've worked with, X amount of clients now. I've done this for X many years. I've taken this, and this course or program or whatever since we last worked together. There might be a whole host of reasons why you have gotten better at the work that you do. You will have also not only gotten better in terms of like the quality, but you would have also got faster with what you're doing. So your clients probably you're not spending as much time on the work. I have this as a reason, like, and many clients of mine will justify the prices like, oh yeah, but it only takes me an hour to do their stuff now because, I've been working with them for so long. So why would I increase the price? And I'm like, because it's never about the time it takes. If you are working with maybe like you are a VA or something like that, where it is about the time that it takes, then yes, I think you can be like, actually, like my prices used to be £20 an hour. They're actually going to go up to like £25 an hour because I'm able to get more done per hour now for you. And I think that would be justified. So thinking about your clients and how you are actually now better and how it's a good thing, because also if they didn't want to work with you anymore, they would now have to spend time and resources and effort and energy trying to find someone new, or even just having to do it themselves, which is actually only going to cost them more money. It is a lot easier for them to continue working with you. So I don't want you to just assume that people are going to leave because you've raised your prices. I actually have never had a client raise their prices and someone say no. I've had clients where they've gotten rid of a client because they're just not a good fit anymore. They're not really enjoying the work. I've also had people who they've reduced the deliverables. So the person has said that they can't afford the price rise, but they want to keep working with them. So instead, they've negotiated on the deliverables as opposed to the price. But I've never had someone just straight up be like, no, and leave. For all my clients. I've been doing this 5 years, 6 years now. Offering discounts. That's another one. Go, you got to stop. You got to stop. Stop offering discounts. There's a time and a place for discounts, okay? But the time and the place is not every time you get the willies about someone talking about your pricing. You should be discounting when you have a really good reason. When it's something fun, I think the best way to discount is when something is fun. Okay, offering like a fun sale, things like that, like in a launch, and you're trying to get that energy. So the reason why you're discounting at the moment is because you are preempting that rejection. You're trying to make it so that the person will say yes. And we don't want that. We want someone who is saying yes for the right reasons. Okay. And generally, if someone is saying they can't afford it, that's kind of like a not right now issue. The other way is also, this is like kind of a note on sales as well, but when someone says they can't afford something, if they're at a position where they are already in conversation with you about joining, and then ultimately the reason is it's not in the budget right now, it's not actually about the price, because they wouldn't have got in touch with you in the first place if your prices are transparent, if they couldn't afford it. Okay, it would have been a not right now. It wouldn't have been about money. It would have been not the right time. Money objections are more often than not the person not seeing the value in them joining right now. So again, it's usually a timing thing. They're not seeing the urgency. They're not seeing the why now? And this is really hard. And I think as business owners, we can hear this a lot. I love learning more about sales. And this is something that comes up a lot in sales conversations, that people say they can't afford it. And I know that it's really annoying to hear, oh, if someone says they can't afford it, it's not really that they can't afford it, blah, blah, blah. But I always go back to the example of my own buying decision on when I clicked for the first time that I was like, oh no, this actually is what's happening. It's when I had two friends that were launching something, completely different things. I wanted to do both of them. And I was like, it's not really in my budget right now. One friend came into my DMs and was like, hey, I know you want to do this. If it's like an affordability thing, because I know you, I'm happy to offer an extended payment plan. Here's this extended payment plan. I looked at it and I considered it, and I opened, my budgeting spreadsheet. She's got cash flow. And I was like, no, it's not in the budget right now. Because what I was looking at, I was actually looking, where am I spending my money, and do I want to, I think it would literally have taken me I wouldn't have been able to afford it on the monthly payment plan without then adjusting other things that I was spending my money on, or this, that, and the other. So I was just like, no, not no, unfortunately, I can't join this time. I did end up joining that program later. I think the next time it launched, actually. But a few days after saying no to, let's call them friend one, I said no to them because I couldn't afford it. Friend two came into my DMs and offered me exactly what I needed at the right time. And I paid in full. from business savings. So I went from being like, I actually can't afford £200 a month right now to here's 2K. Okay. And it was not, at the time I was telling myself it was about how much it was, but actually it wasn't, because for the right investment, I found a way. Okay. Because it was exactly what I needed at the right time. I think I was about to launch something and it was like one-to-one launch support for 6 weeks. And I was like, perfect. Sign me up. That's exactly what I need. And obviously it was a friend, so I knew them. I'd worked with them before. So yeah, basically all of that to say, like, I know it's annoying when you hear that. I know it's really annoying when someone's like, oh, it's not about the pricing. It's about how you're translating it. And I'm like, oh, but it also kind of is. Now, there's not to say that you can convince, again, that convince word, everyone. You know, if someone says it's like, I can't afford it and, you know, it's not the right time, it might just be that it genuinely isn't for them. That, like, obviously, you know, camp 1, camp 2 is they just do not have that intrinsic urgency yet. And that is like on them and for them to kind of work out when they need it. And obviously your kind of nurture content can continue to warm them up and educate them around the urgency behind it and why they should make the move now as opposed to, you know, in 6 months' time. But most of the time, it will be down to how you are translating that urgency. Now, obviously, urgency, yes, you know, doors are closing, the discount is ending, there's only one spot, like, yes, those count, but they are manufactured within a certain way. I mean, you can ultimately decide what the discount is and when it's ending. You decide whether the doors open or close or whether it's evergreen. You decide how many spots you can take within reason. That capacity one is a bit more legit, but the urgency really has to come from them. So for me, it wasn't that, like, I didn't join. Like, yes, of course, the fact that, you know, the launch was ending, it helped me move. But ultimately, the buying decision was her being like sliding into my DMs and going, I have exactly what you need right now. And me being like, yes, that is exactly what I need right now. And it was now for me, not now for her, as in like, because doors are closing. It was now for me. I need this right now because I have a launch in 2 months' time and I want to prepare for it. Okay, so you have to be thinking about, what does your client need? What is the urgency? What is the need? What is the want? What is the desire that is urgent? You know, for me, I can often talk about how with like, you're losing out on investment income, you're paying, you know, thousands in unnecessary debt interest because you're not being efficient enough. You're losing out on savings interest. You're losing out on profit because you're not like maximizing your profit. You're not using your revenue and your expenses effectively to maximize your profit. You're not paying yourself enough. It's literally costing you money. Like, your decision to not take action today is costing you money. Now, I've struggled to do that because, you know, we all have our own little sales hang-ups, right? I don't want to be like jab, 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 jab all the time. But it's important that you guys know that, right? You could wait. But like, for what? For why? For when? Okay? You're losing money today by not working with me. Anyway, sales aside. So yeah. Don't discount. Basically, that was a really long-winded way of saying only discount legitimately. And then scope, what also comes into pricing and revenue is also like scope creep, but I'm also given that its own little section. But essentially, it's when you're padding out proposals and offers with other deliverables in order to justify the price rather than just holding it. So sales and conversion. So sending vague follow-ups that don't actually ask for the sale because you don't want to seem pushy. This sales ick, honestly, the sales ick is what is going to have your business digging its own grave. Like, you are a business owner, and I say this with so much love. You are a business owner. You have to learn to market the thing that you are selling, because the thing that you are selling is what pays your bills. If you want to make money, you have to sell. It's not optional. That is the agreement you had when you went into business. And I know I've said this before in the podcast, and I'll say it again. If you don't want to do that, if you want consistent income that you don't have to like put yourself out, that you don't have to be visible for, you don't have to ask for the sale for, 9-to-5 jobs exist. Like working for other people where you just do the job and you get paid for that job and you can rely on that and you don't have to ask for anything. Those exist. Okay. You decided to become a business owner. This is part of doing business. And I'm so sorry, but it has to be said. You have to sell. So if you're following up with someone, they hopped on a sales call with you, okay? Don't be beating around the bush. They know what they signed up for. It's like nowadays where we sign up for free things, right? We sign up for a freebie, we sign up for a webinar, we sign up for a private podcast. We know what we're signing up for. We know we're going into a funnel. We know you're going to sell to me. I'm like, please sell to me. I love it. I'm like, honestly, I love it. We know we're not idiots, okay? So if I jump on a sales call with you and then you're sending the follow-up and you're kind of beating around the bush because you don't want the sale, I'm already thinking like, well, you lack confidence. And if you lack confidence to sell your thing, for me, it reads as you're not confident in your thing. You're not confident in your offer, in your service, in your product. Okay? So I'm not going to invest. I'm talking, if you're making me feel like, oh, like, I don't actually know, like, yeah. Backing off sales conversations the moment someone goes quiet rather than following up. Okay? Again, it's like not wanting to sound pushy. Send the follow-ups. Jesus fucking Christ. Like, if you had a sales conversation with someone, if you're in the DMs, if they hop on a sales call and then they ghost, okay, just follow up. I promise you, you're not being annoying. Okay? I found, especially if you're in the like online space, like your business to business, a lot of business owners are neurodivergent. It's why we get into business, because our brains are just like going and we find traditional jobs really hard. We forget about shit. The amount of times I followed up with someone and they literally replied, oh my God, thank you so much for like following me up. Thank you for giving me the nudge. People are literally out here thanking me for the follow-up. So follow up. Yes, of course. There have been countless times where I followed up with someone and they've not replied. But it doesn't matter. Again, it's about what are you making it mean about you? Because it doesn't actually mean anything about you. They don't want to have the awkward conversation either of saying no, so they're just like, I'm just going to leave it. They might come back to you. Okay? I've had people that have been like, oh, ultimately not right now. And I won't push. Even though I know what we just spoke about. I'm like, if they give me a reason, if they give me an answer, I'm like, I accept your answer. But if they don't give me an answer, I'm going to follow up again. And I'll probably do like 2 to 3 follow-ups over the course of the entire relationship with them. And I typically have I don't have set check-ins. What I'll do is if I know, let's say like this month, I'm like, well, I need to make a bit more money. I'm like, well, let me go to my warmest leads first. My warmest leads are the people that are actually inquired. So I'm going to go to who have I had a sales call with? Who have I had a conversation in the DMs with? Who have I had like email conversations with that I can go, hey, checking back in, how the hell are you? Like, we spoke about this, like, how's it going? Has anything changed with that? You should open the dialogue about, I will usually go like, I'm actually like about to promote this offer, or I've got a space in this offer, or I've thought of like, I'm looking for clients for offer and I thought of you. Or the like, I was reminded of our conversation and I wondered whether now might be the right time. It doesn't have to like be this big pretty thing where you're there with like your pitchfork, like, pay me money. Like, it's not that, is it? It's not that. Over explaining or over justifying your offer on a discovery call to manage their reaction. I remember when I first started doing sales calls, because you're like looking at the person, especially like nowadays on like Zoom and stuff, you're looking at the person, you're kind of judging what their reaction is. So I have definitely held my hands up in the past, like said the price and then always like waited for the reaction, because there hasn't been like an instant like, oh yeah, no, no, that's fine. I'm like, oh, okay, backpedal. Like, what can I say? What can I sell them on? Or like, this is a favourite one. Whereas actually, like nowadays, I've learned to just like sit with it, like leave the space. Be quiet. Just be quiet. You don't need to over-explain. You don't need to over-justify. They're on the call with you. Okay? They are already interested. And you just, rather than like you going and just like spiraling, like spilling everything, so I'd ask the questions like, do you have any questions about this specific offer or how it might work for you? There's actually something of Emily or Pastor Queso said a while ago that I really like, which is about sales questions. So when you are, say, in the DMs you're in the DMs for something, you're chatting to someone, they're potentially going to join your offer, and you're having this sales conversation, and rather than asking, do you have any more questions about X? Because what that does is that then puts the pressure on them. You're basically like putting it on them to think about how they want the offer. And what Emily suggested you do is instead ask them a question of like, so for instance, she had an offer standard copy that was about becoming a better copywriter and like learning to write copy for a specific offer. She would ask, what offer are you thinking about bringing into the program? What offer are you thinking about? And that way, rather than like putting the onus on them, I'm still holding the weight of that conversation. Okay, I've just kind of asked a question about how they would use the offer as opposed to like, do you have any questions about the offer? And finally, agreeing to let them think about it without ever booking a follow-up conversation. Always book the follow-up conversation, or at least have the touch, like let them know. Like, don't just be like, I've let you think about it. You know, I'm here if you need me. Just be like, I always say like, go away, think about it. And what I'll do is I will get in contact in 3 days. And if I haven't heard from you, I might send another follow-up again, but like 10 to 14 days after that. And then, so they already have the expectation of like, okay, Emily's going to get in touch with me. Again, so I'm removing the pressure from them to have to remember. I'm like, how can I do that? Okay, I had other things to talk about in this episode, but we've already gone on for a little while, and it turns out I can yap about sales and people pleasing. Perhaps I will do a part 2. Let me know if you found this interesting and whether you do want a part 2 with more things around scope creep, delivery costs, offer design and business model. Let me know. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm sorry that I sound so bunged up again. I hate my life. But yeah, I'll speak to you very soon. Bye.